Let's continue with this roster of painful conflicts. That is the ICRC's role, and we're all grateful that your organization steps up to these problems. I want to ask about Afghanistan. We think with U.S. Troops coming home after what's been our longest war, that in some ways that conflict will ease, or at least our involvement in it, but the world doesn't work that way often. I'd like to ask you about ICRC's view of what's ahead in Afghanistan, and particularly with U.S. troops gone and a very shaky situation for the government. What can be done in the future to protect Afghan civilians, vulnerable Afghan women who may face new violations of their human rights? How can ICRC and other international organizations fill that vacuum that we fear lies ahead?
Well, I'm not sure whether we will be able to fill the vacuum. We are certainly concerned by not only internationals moving out on the military and security side, but also, as you rightly say, NGOs. I think we continue to have an important operation in Afghanistan, focusing on providing health services to people, including in Taliban and non-Taliban controlled areas. I think here again, what is badly necessary is also an internal process in Afghanistan, which would lead to a legitimate government with an impact of in the whole of the country. I think what we are ready to do is to continue to support wherever we can through humanitarian assistance in some of the key areas for which we have worked over decades now, to continue this support and this work. But there is a real problem of lack of visibility of a possibly forgotten conflict that we see emerging in Afghanistan, with less international attention, less support for social services in the country, less legitimacy or no legitimacy immediately emerging out of the peace process for a strong Afghan government. And this is certainly an issue of concern, given that already over the last years we have seen emerging and continuing levels of violence in the country, which at the end of the day we haven't been able to curb, and no intervention of the international community has been able to curb. Unfortunately, we have seen growing numbers of civilian victims over the last 4 or 5 years. And I fear that if here again a domestic strong political process does not lead to legitimate governance in Afghanistan, we will see a protracted conflict continuing, and some of the protection work from women and children and civilians on which we have been focusing in the past being at least as difficult as we saw it in the last couple of years. So continued engagement is of critical importance, and we will try the best we can to continue, and hopefully also with the support of the international community, scale our response to the underlying social and developmental problems in the country. But violence is always the biggest danger of being disruptive for those efforts that we are undertaking.